Okay, I take it that everyone can see that. Christy, could you give me a thumbs up? Thank you. So, kia ora koutou, ko Boyd Warren aho. I'm the General Manager of Innovation and Business Growth at ChristchurchNZ. I'll give you a quick talk about how we're being inspired by the Sustainable Development Goals in our local economic development initiatives. A little bit about ChristchurchNZ. We're the Economic Development Agency for Ōtautahi Christchurch. Our legal status is public benefit entity. We are mostly funded by the Christchurch City Council, although we have an independent board of directors. Our statement of intent, which I'll talk to a bit further in the future, is heavily infused with sustainability, equality, and concepts of prosperity in the total people, planet, and profit perspective. We do many things in order to achieve that goal of sustainable economic growth for a more prosperous Ōtautahi Christchurch. We've got innovation and business growth, which includes such things as clustering initiatives with agri-biotech, health tech, aerospace and future transport. We also do business and investment attraction. We do capability building with businesses. We run or we partner on business incubators for knowledge intensive businesses. We have a screen office. We have an Antarctic office. We also run events and we do tourism marketing and grow capability in the tourism community. We're the economic and strategy shop for the city, producing economic leadership and insights there. And we've got a new urban development function, which will be aiming to grow livable communities through developing key pieces of city-owned land. Okay, so you can see that our work is inspired and guided by a number of sustainable development frameworks. And you can see globally, the SDGs there, the New Zealand Living Standards Framework, which you'll be familiar with locally, and then the Christchurch City Council Community Outcomes, which you may be less familiar with. But they include prosperous economy, resilient communities, having a livable city and a healthy environment. We also take a lot of inspiration from many other places, but very much so the aspiration of mana whenua, international economic development examples such as the community wealth building movement in the UK, and more locally, Sir Paul Callaghan's vision for New Zealand, for instance. So like many people's work, we're inspired and directed by many things. I guess all that boils down to we've got a commitment to intergenerational prosperity and well-being, and doing that in partnership. He waka eka noa, teamwork makes the dream work, and I'll give you some case studies to prove that kaupapa later on. But our focus is really on SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, and 9, industry and innovation. And as we further develop our urban development function, we'll be able to further move into SDG 11 as well. So within our statement of intent, we have these strategic outcomes, and they're listed there on the left-hand column. And I've written alignment and amplification with regards to the SDGs, because sometimes often we don't actually directly deliver to the SDGs. But that's the nuance between the SDGs somewhat being designed for developing economies and our more developed and sophisticated economy locally. But certainly we do seek to align with the SDGs and then amplify them in a local context. And all that's built on a kaupapa of working together and, harking back to those sentiments of inclusivity and sustainable prosperity for all. So you can see there that, high value, decent work. And we see that manifested in our investment into entrepreneurship and knowledge intensive employment. And that's right across the spectrum of society. We're growing entrepreneurship in unemployed workers, but we're also growing entrepreneurship in highly skilled researchers as well. We've got a huge work program and number of partnerships in the youth employment and NEET space, and I'll touch on some of that later. And we've got a whole division of our organisation that's focused on ensuring sustainable employment and tourism aligned with SDG Target 892. Now, we're measured as an agency on GDP output and economic competitiveness. So clear alignment with SDG number 1 there. And like all economies, regional or national, we're seeking to grow, increase productivity through innovation and value add. And our business capability programs go directly to that goal. Our next strategic outcome is resilience and sustainability of enterprise and business. And again, that aligns strongly with what we do and align with SDG 8.2, productivity and innovation and value add. But we're also growing access to capital finance for businesses in the early stage of their journey for our partnership with Canterbury Angels, for instance. And through our developing projects, we're assisting businesses become familiar with how they can influence 8.4, 12.6 and 13.3. Partnerships is key to success, as I'm sure you'll all attest to. And one of the most profound SDG aligned partnerships that's being worked on at the moment is the Greater Christchurch 2050 strategy, which brings together the local Canterbury regional councils or territorial authorities with a view to partnering with central government underneath one policy umbrella so that there's integration and efficiency towards goals of sustainability and prosperity. And we've got many, many public-private partnerships, public-public partnerships and multi-party partnerships that all drive towards the sort of kaupapa I'm talking about now. And then closer to home, like many of your organisations, I'm sure we're focused heavily on reducing waste, recycling and reusing. We've made some changes to our fleet recently to electrify that. And we've also undertaken a review of our own performance up against the SDGs with the help of B-Lab and the Grow Good Guy locally. We pride ourselves on being transparent and effective, and that means having, and we're obviously subject to the Local Government Information Act, but we really do try and be transparent and provide as much access to information as possible. And we've got a developing but really strong workplace, people and culture strategy. So there we go. And so we obviously seek to drive measurable improvement to all those strategic outcomes. And you'll see that in the next few slides as well. So here's a case study which not only talks to the SDGs that I mentioned on the previous slide, but really talks to SDG 10 as well, about reduced inequality. And so this program is called Hōpara, and it's Pupil Pathways to High Value Careers. So it's where we're partnering with ARA and University of Canterbury to mentor children who typically, wouldn't go to university or consider STEM as a career. And we're inspiring them to be the first in family to attend university or polytech and undertake a STEM career. So this is a long customer journey. We're engaging with these students in year 11, year 12, and we want to follow them and mentor them right through tertiary study, then on to one of our local high value STEM businesses. We've developed that content with Mana Whenua. We're successfully mentoring 60 students right now. And that cohort is growing to 140 students over the next 12 months. So you can see the inclusivity, the partnership approach, and, you know, an SDG alignment back to our goals of high value, decent work, economic competitiveness and GDP output, and resilience and sustainability of businesses. There's so many benefits with a program like this, not only on the supply side, as isn't it, it's great for the students in the cohort, but on the demand side, we've got a skills shortage in Christchurch, which is projected by our economists to go out to 70,000 over the next 10 years. And the benefits of having a pipeline of diverse and vibrant young workers like this is massively appreciated by employers. Entrepreneurship is something that's a heavy focus for the SDGs, and it's heavy focus for us as well. So we're investing a lot into innovation and entrepreneurship. You can see there, more than 1.5 million into business incubators and capability building. Now, we're doing that at the knowledge intensive end with Te Ohaka and Think Lab, research-based, knowledge intensive, potentially tradable businesses. But then at the other end, you know, we're promoting entrepreneurship amongst impacted workers as well, people who have lost their jobs because of COVID. And then others through Rebel Business School who may be, you know, in tenuous employment currently, or you know, have an idea that might change the world. So a really, really inclusive approach there as well. And again, we're partnering with like-minded organisations on all of these initiatives. Here's an example of some of the partnerships we've got, and you know, the whanaungatanga, kotahitanga approach, you know, is just, you know, so powerful. And you know, we're living He Waka Eke Noa every day through our partnerships. And you know, working with like-minded organisations towards goals that are aligned with the SDGs really, really is exciting for us and our teams, and has incredible benefit for the economy. So, looking ahead, we are developing a project currently to grow awareness among local businesses of the need and benefits to adopt sustainability and impact tools, including the SDGs themselves, you know, whether that's Future Fit or B Corp, ISO, Toitu, you know, those frameworks that help businesses plan, measure and manage their performance against, you know, sustainability and impact measures, or whether it's a reporting framework like Global Reporting Initiative or integrated reporting, Qualmark in the tourism space, for instance. There's a plethora of options. We're developing a project to help businesses navigate all of those options. And at ChristchurchNZ, I mentioned earlier, we've undertaken an initial SDG assessment, and we've recently made some changes to our fleet arrangements to move to ride sharing and electrified options. We're very lucky to have a committed shared services team working on our reduction of waste, reusing and recycling, and we're doubling down on all these efforts. Next step will be our procurement strategy and people and culture strategies as well. And of course, you know, our relationship with mana whenua is absolutely fundamental to embedding the SDGs. And you know, the UN Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People and the Treaty of Waitangi are deeply in our thoughts. And to that end, we've got a formal partnership with mana whenua and a Pou Manaki at ChristchurchNZ to guide us through our partnership with mana whenua. And that's really, really exciting to be able to authentically infuse mana whenua aspiration into our economic development initiatives. And then as we develop our urban development function, aligning that with SDG 11 will be an exciting adjunct to that piece of work. So lots to look forward to. in the Sustainable Cities and Communities SDG. And that's how we're aligning ourselves with the SDGs and hopefully amplifying them as well. We know from experience at ChristchurchNZ, but also from the businesses and enterprises we interact with, that tying what you work back to the SDGs and infusing them into the work and having that co-popper at the core really drives strong engagement with staff. And it also attracts amazing partners who are like-minded and have all, bought into the, let's do something that's good for people and the planet and our business, because they can be intrinsically and powerfully linked. So we'd welcome at ChristchurchNZ for you to talk to us about our experience. And if you want us to direct you to one of those and frameworks that I mentioned before, we'd be happy to have that conversation as well. But I thought I'd leave you with a quote, or whakatauki actually, and it goes like this: Whātunga rongaro te tangata toitu te whenua. And the translation is, people fade from view, but the land remains. And I think the SDGs really speak to that whakatauki. So from me at ChristchurchNZ, ngā mihi nui and mā te wā.